Hello, good morning, children. Welcome to the online session of Sri Gokulam Public School, Guruvayur. Children, we were discussing the chapter 6, staffing. In our last class, we have discussed the recruitment process, in which we saw the different sources of recruitment. We saw both internal and external recruitment. We also saw the advantages and disadvantages related to both of these sources of recruitment. Today, we will discuss about the selection process, which is one of the steps related to staffing. What is selection process? Selection is the process of identifying and choosing the best person out of a number of prospective candidates for the job. So from the recruitment process, we have called the candidate to offer themselves for the job. Now, after getting the application, the next step is the selection. So in selection process, we identify and choose the person out of the number of prospective candidates who have applied themselves for the job. Selection process serves two important processes. It ensures that the organization gets the best among the available. So whoever is the best, they will be selected. It enhances the self-esteem and prestige of those selected and convey to them the seriousness with which the things are done in the organization. So the other purpose of the selection process is to increase the self-esteem and prestige of the selected candidate so that he should take the things very seriously while working in the organization. Next, you can see that there are there are various steps involved in the selection process. It goes this way: preliminary screening, selection test, employment interview, reference checks, selection decision, medical examination, job offer, contracts of employment. When you are studying the steps of selection process, you have to study it in this order itself. Okay, you cannot change the order of these steps. Now, let us discuss the first step of selection, that is preliminary screening. Preliminary screening helps the manager to eliminate unqualified or unfit job seekers based on the information supplied in the application form. So, once we have recruited, that we have advertised in the newspaper or from different media related regarding the job vacancy, and we got the application form, then the next thing is we have to sort out that application form and we have to eliminate the unfit or unqualified job seekers. Okay, preliminary interviews help reject misfit for reasons which did not appear in the application form. So through the that is unfit or unqualified application forms are rejected. That is the first screening, that is preliminary screening, first step of staffing. Then the second step is selection test. So from the list of candidate or from the list of applications, some forms are rejected as they were unfit or due to some unqualified factor related to that application. Now so those who have selected after the first step, they have to pass the selection test. Selection test measures aptitude, intelligence, personality, etc. of the candidate who have applied for the vacant jobs. So these tests have to be qualified. The candidate has to qualify these tests. Now let us discuss it in detail. Types of selection test. The first type of test is intelligence test. It measures the level of IQ of the candidate. It is an indicator of person's learning ability or the ability to make decisions and judgment. So in the first test in selection test is the intelligence test, in which IQ is tested, and also the person's ability to make decision and judgment is also tested. The next test is the aptitude test. It is a measure of an individual's potential for learning new skills. Is that candidate have enough potential to learn the new skills? That is tested with the aptitude test. It indicates the person's capacity to develop. So tests are good indices of a person's future success score. So whether this candidate is capable of learning new skills, that is tested through the aptitude test. The next type of test is the personality test. Personality tests provide clues to a person's emotion, his or her reactions, maturity and value system, etc. These tests judge the overall personality. Hence, these are difficult to design and implement. So, the personality test is also tested during the selection test process. So, his emotions, his reactions, his maturity level, his value system, everything is being put to test. Next is trait test. This test measures the existing skill, professional knowledge as well as proficiency of the individual. So, trait test tests the skill which the skill related to the job that the candidate acquired. It is tested. Okay, trait test. Then interest tests. Interest tests are used to know the pattern of interest or involvement of a person. So, what are the interest area of that candidate can be known through the interest test. So, these are the different types of tests which comes under the second stage of selection process. After if a candidate is selected after the selection test, he have to go through the employment interview. Interview is a formal, in-depth conversation conducted to evaluate the applicant's suitability for the job. So, there is a face-to-face formal conversation between the interviewer and the interviewee. The role of the interviewer is to seek information and that of the interviewee is to provide the same. So, interviewer will ask the question and the interviewee will have to answer the same. Now, in present interviews, we can see that interviewee also seeks information from the interviewer regarding the organization, its way of working also. Sometimes the interviewee asks the questions to the interviewer. Okay. Next is reference and background checks. Many employers request names, addresses and telephone number of the references. That is, the employer, they ask the name, address and telephone number of any person to whom this person, the interviewee, is connected with. That reference can be taken from the previous employer or known person, any well-known persons or teachers or university professors. From these community, the reference can be taken about the candidate who have applied for the job and who had reached the third stage, that is interview. After interview, this is the fourth stage of selection, that is reference and background check. So, the person who have covered the interview, who had overcome the interview, he will his reference and background will be checked for the purpose of verifying information and the gaining additional information about the applicant. This is done. Okay, so how is his behavior during his when he was a student, when he was working with his previous employer, what is his background, that will be checked through the reference and background checks. So, after this fourth step, the next step is the selection decision. So, after covering all these stages, a candidate will be selected. The selection decision will be made by the company. The final selection decision have to be made from among the candidates who pass the test, interview and the reference checks. The views of the concerned manager will be generally considered in the final selection because it is he or she who is responsible for the performance of the new employee. So, the manager, these employees who are selected, they have to work under the manager. So, it is the view of the manager that the final decisions are taken. After final decision, it is the medical examination. After the selection decisions and before the job offer is made, the candidate is required to undergo a medical fitness test. The job offer is given to the candidate being declared fit after the medical examination. So, after the medical examination, if the candidate is declared fit, then the next stage will appear, that is the job offer. So, the company will make a job offer to this candidate. The next step in the selection process is the job offer to those candidates who have passed all the previous hurdles. Job offer is made through a letter of appointment which contains the date by which he or she must report on the duty. So, this job offer is made in the form of a letter of appointment. So, in the letter of appointment, the date will be conveyed in which he or she should report to the duty. Okay. So, after job offer, a contract of employment is signed between the employer and the employee. After the job offer has been made and the candidate accepts the offer, certain documents need to be executed by the employer and the candidate. So certain documents have to be signed up by or have to be executed by the employer and the candidate. A contract of employment is prepared regarding terms and conditions of employment such as job title, duties, responsibilities, pay, allowances, hours of work, work rules, leave rules, termination of employment, etc. So all the details related to that employee will be that is as a contract it will be signed by the employee. So this is one of the step related to selection process. Now here is the difference between the recruitment and selection. The nature and process. On the basis of nature and process, how are recruitment and selection differentiated? Recruitment is known as a positive process because it aims at attracting the candidate to apply for the job, and there is no rejection in this process. But selection is termed as a negative process because candidate have to cross several stages, and after every stage few candidates will be eliminated until the right type of person is found. So hence, because there is a elimination process, so it is known as negative process. Now what is the aim and purpose of recruitment? To attract more and more candidates for the vacant job. And what is the aim and purpose of selection? To select the most suitable person out of the candidate who have applied for the job. Now sequence, it takes place prior to the selection. So recruitment takes place first, and then it is then selection takes place. So it is done after the recruitment. We already discussed two of the important process of staffing, that is recruitment and selection. Today we will discuss equally important process of staffing, that is training. Before that, let us see what are the topics we have to discuss in today's class. Today we will see the concept of training. Then we will learn about the importance of training. Next is methods of training. There are two types of training method, on the job method and off the job method. Then we will see the difference between on the job training and off the job training. So now let us proceed with the class. The first thing which you have to know is what is training. Training and development is an attempt to improve the current or future performance of employees by increasing their ability to perform through learning, usually by changing the employee's attitude or increasing their skills and knowledge. So it is through training that employees improve their future as well as current performance. And for that, in the form when we are giving training to the employees, through that training, we are changing the employee's attitude as well as we are increasing their skills and knowledge. In today's highly sophisticated and complex society, as job has become more complex, the importance of employees training has increased. So if we check today's business environment, we can know that how sophisticated and complex the society is. So to overcome the employee training is much required to get acquired with such sophisticated and complex societies. Now let us discuss about the importance of training and development. Importance of training from organization's point of view as well as from the employee's point of view. First of all, we will discuss about importance of training to the organization. The first importance of training to the organization is training is a systematic learning, always better than hit and trial methods which lead to wastage of efforts and money. Children, if a company is using hit and trial method, it lead to wastage of effort and money of the organization. So to overcome such wastage of effort and money, the good choice is training of the employee. So through training employee, we are going for a systematic learning, thus reducing the wastage of efforts and money which is there in hit and trial methods. The second importance of training to the organization is it increases or it enhances employees' productivity both in terms of quantitative and qualitative, which leads to higher profit. So through training, the employees are increasing their productivity in terms of quality and quantity, and they will show a higher profit, which is good for the organization. It equips future managers who can take over in case of emergency. So through training, we are giving them enough practice so that whenever there is in future there is in emergency, we need to fill any vacant places, we can make use of these employees who have been given sufficient training. Okay. Next is it reduces absenteeism and employee turnover by increasing employee morale. Moral. So through training we have equipped the employee, and now he is confident enough in any situation he is ready to work. So that confidence reduces the absenteeism and employee turnover. Okay. Next is it helps in obtaining an effective response to a fast changing environment, technological as well as economic environment. So when we are giving training to the employee, we are making them adaptive. That is, they can adapt themselves with the fast changing environment. These are the advantages, we can say, importance of training to the from the organization's point of view. Now for the employees, what is the benefit or importance of training? It improves skills and knowledge of the employee, which helps in promotion and career growth. So for employee who have, after the training, they have improved their skills and knowledge, so they are ready for the which will help them in future for promotion and career growth also. Increases performance of the employees, helps to earn more. So more that is, after training, that employee performance will increase. Both qualitative and quantitative performance will increase, and with increase in his performance he can earn more. It makes the employees more efficient to handle machines, thus less prone to accidents. So through training he gets equipped with the machines. So while handling the machines he will be conscious enough, and there will be less prone to accidents also. It increases the satisfaction and morale of the employees. So as after the training, the employee is confident enough to handle the machines, to handle the situations. He is well known to the working conditions and all that. So he will have a satisfaction to that work, and his morale will also increase. So these are the importance of training to the employees. Now there are methods of training. There are two methods of training. The first one is on-the-job method, and the second one is off-the-job methods. On-the-job method refer to the method that are applied to the workplace while the employee is actually working. So while that is, it means learning while doing. So they are actually working and learning. Okay. So while doing the work, they are learning. So that is one method of training, that is on-the-job method. And under this method, there are different types of training, that is induction training, apprenticeship training, internship training, versatile training. Other training methods are coaching and job rotation. Next is the off-the-job training method. Off-the-job methods are used away from the workplace. It means learning before doing. So you have to learn first, and then you have to work on that. Okay. After learning only, you can come back to the work. So under that, these are the different types: lectures and conference, films, case study, computer modeling, program instruction. These are the examples related to off-the-job methods. On-the-job training methods. Now let us discuss each of these examples. Induction training. It means introducing the selected employees to other employees and familiarizing them with the rules and policy of the organization. So we are making familiar the employees, selected employees, we are introducing him, we are making familiar the working condition, the workplace, the other employees, as well as with the rules and policies of the organization. So we are introducing these employees, okay, the selected employee. Next is the apprenticeship training. Here under this type of training, you know that plumbers and electricians come under this, they go for apprenticeship training. Under this, the trainee, he will be working under the guidance of a master and for a prescribed period of time. Okay, so he will learn the skill by working under the guidance of the his master. Next is internship training. It is a practical training of theoretical knowledge. So a person has the theoretical knowledge, but now he is acquiring the practical knowledge through training. So selected candidates carry on regular studies and also work in some factory or office to acquire practical knowledge. So here the candidate, they are studying as well as working in some factory or office, and they are acquiring the practical knowledge. The best example to quote here is the CA, that is chartered accountant. The students who are studying the chartered accountant courses, they have a internship training also. In this time period, they will study under the chartered accountant, and they will work in some office and acquire the practical knowledge. Next is versatile training. This training is given with the help of equipment and machines similar to those at the workplace, but the training is conducted away from the actual work floor. It is used where the employees are required to handle sophisticated machinery. So when the employees have to handle sophisticated machines, it is not practical to make use of this type of machine and train the employees. So equipment and machine which is similar to those of the workplace, on that the training is given to the employee. Okay. Next type is coaching. You may have heard about the word coach and counselor during so this coach or counselor, they gives guidance to the trainees, and through that the trainee acquired the skill or knowledge about the work. Okay, so we know that in sports also we have coaches. So this coach, they give training to the candidate, okay, to improve their skills. So coaching is learning through on the job experience under the guidance of a superior known as coach during the training period. Next is job rotation. Job rotation involves movement of an employee from one department to another for a specified period. So the job rotation means the employee, he is working in one department for some specified time period, and he will be shifted to some other department, and there he will work for a specified period. So in this way he is getting acquired or skilled in each of the work being conducted in that organization. Okay, so this is all examples of on the job method of training. Now let us discuss the off-the-job training method. Classroom lectures and conferences. The lectures or conferences approach is well adapted to convey specific information, rules, procedure or methods. The use of audio, visual or demonstrations can often make a formal classroom presentation more interesting for clarifying more difficult points. So there are some training which cannot be practically done. For that, classroom lectures are given. Okay, so some rules, procedures and methods and are conveyed in the form of information, as well as audio visual demonstrations are also presented to the candidate, and the points are clarified in this through lecturings. Then films, it can provide information and demonstrate skills that are easily presented by other which cannot be easily presented by other techniques. So through showing the films, the informations and demonstrations are exhibited. Next is case studies. So taken from actual experience of the organization, case studies represent attempt to describe as accurately as possible real problems that manager have faced. So all the cases which the managers, all the problems which the managers have come across, and the solution, how the managers find a solution for that problem, it is also registered. So this case study will be practiced, that is actual experience of that managers will be taught to the in the form of case study, will be as a training will be given to the employees or candidates. Next is computer modeling. It stimulates the work environment by programming a computer to imitate some of the realities of the job, which allow learning to take place without the risk or high cost that would be incurred if a mistake was made in the real life situation. So that through computer we are making that person or trainee to learn. Okay, so that if it is highly risky job or highly costly, it is very high cost to train the employee directly, so we can make use of computer model, and through that model that person can learn the way of doing that work. The fifth type of training is the programmed instructions. In this method incorporates a pre-arranged and proposed acquisition of some specific skills or general knowledge. Information is broken into meaningful units, and these units are arranged in a proper way to form a logical and sequential learning package. So children, the material to be learned is given as a package. So after learning one set of package, then only the next level of learning package will appear. So it is like playing a game. When your one level is over, you move to the higher level of the game. So same way, when one package of learning is over, then only the other package will appear. So unless and until you finish the package, one level of package, then only the next package will appear. So that is one form of training related to of the training method. Now let us discuss on the job training and off the job training differences. So meaning, as you know, training, learn trainees, in case of on-the-job training, trainees learn while they are engaged in performing their job. So while doing, they are learning. And in case of off-the-job training, trainees learn and develop skills without engaging in actual job performance. So they are not learning at the place of work, but they are learning before and then performing. Next is training places. Training is provided at the workplace itself, and here in case of off-the-job training, training is provided away from the workplace. Now, training environment. Training environment consists of actual workplace situations and tools itself. But training here in this case, training environment is different from the actual work situations. Resource persons. Resource persons for providing training are concerned superiors, and resource persons for providing training are the experts in the field. Training objective. Training objective is to provide vocational efficiency, and here in case of off-the-job training, training objective is to inculcate ideas and concepts. So these are the difference between on-the-job training and off-the-job training. Children, we are about to finish or conclude our class for today. Today we have discussed the concept of training, importance of training from employees' point of view as well as from organization's point of view. We saw the methods of training, that is on-the-job training and off-the-job training method. We saw the difference between on-the-job training and off-the-job training. You have to read the textbook which is covered with this point, covering this point. We will discuss a new chapter in the coming session of our class. Till then, goodbye. Thank you.